This is Shravyavardhani Tota from batch 6 of 3rd year ITB. So in this video we are going to give you a presentation about our project research tool using transformers in natural language processing. So here are our team members, Maitri, Bhargavi and Rachna. As I had earlier mentioned in this video, this project is about the research tool related to the content of natural language processing. To run this Python code, you can use any kind of Python platforms like Visual Studio, IDLE, Jupyter Notebook, Colab and any other. But I had used a Visual Studio platform. I will also prefer all of you to use a Visual Studio platform itself. And later on going into the video, I will explain how I had saved this Python code and how it is connected to the other HTML codes, how they are saved. And then later on this video you can see it. What are the libraries used and why we had used it. So I had already created the tabular format of all the libraries that I had used in our source code. So first of all, it's a Flask library. So this acts as a bridge between our front-end and back-end Python code. So whatever the content that we had entered dynamically into our HTML web page, that content will be received to a Python source code by using this Flask application. Next, it's a pandas library. So in this I had used a .csv file that acts as a basic database to our research tool. So to access the content from the .csv and to load the content into the .csv file, I had used this pandas library. OS library I had used it because to check whether the .csv file is existed in our environment. If it doesn't exist, we will check by using this OS library. If it doesn't exist, we will create that .csv in our environment. Next, NLTK, Natural Language Toolkit. So this helps us to tokenize our content that we had given to it, right? So this helped me during the paraphrasing content. Paraphrasing is nothing but a rearranging the vocabulary of the content that we had given to it. So this NLTK helped me to give a paraphrased content by tokenizing the original content. Later on I will translate or I will paraphrase it. Next, it's a request. Whenever here we are in this research tool, we are going to do a web scraping, right? So whenever we are scraping the data from external websites or a web servers, first of all we have to send a basic request to that web servers that we are going to extract it. So that we want some data to be extracted from your websites. Whenever that web server had accepted our request, and then it will send the text data to our Python code, right? So that we are using this request library. Request library just send the request to that specific URL. And next, beautiful soup. This will extract the data from that website, either a text thing or any images or any tables. This can be done by using this beautiful soup library. URL lib.parse. This is for URL parsing and encoding. Here you will give a Here our research tool is totally linked in between a URL parsing and URL connections and web scraping. So for URL parsings, you will use this URL lib.parse. And next, it's a transformers. This is a major backbone library to our Python research tool. So transformers. This is a natural language processing library for working with the transformer models. These are the transformer models that I had. These are some of the submodels that I had used under these three things of transformers. So this auto tokenizer is work similar to the NLTK. These two will perform the tokenization of text. These two will perform a tokenization instead. So but under the transformers, I'm using this auto tokenizer to tokenize the text. Okay, next, this auto model for sequence to sequence tasks is, for this I had used paraphrasing. During paraphrasing I had used this model. For paraphrasing too I had used a Pegasus paraphrase model. For that, these two are helping me. And for a single line answer, to get a single line answer, I had prefer this pipeline function. Question answer pipeline model I had used it to acquire the answer from the text. So let's see the next question. So later on this video I will run the code and as well as display the output and the Visual Studio platform itself. Next question. So let's see how it's going to run. Here first of all, our research tool will start from the login page. On the login page, it will ask us to enter a username and password. If that username exists in our users.csv backend database file, then it will allow us to enter into the home page. Else it will ask us to register and then it will go for again login page. After if we are going to register, it will check that user.csv if that registered user name is already existed in that users.csv or not. If it existed, it will display that username already exists. If not, it will take the username and a password and it will store the data and it will save it in the CSV format. And after entering to the login page, after completing the login, we will go to the main home page, right? In that main home page, we will have two tasks to be performed, two way of tasks to be performed there. One is directly asking question and the second one is asking question and by giving a single or multiple links. So in these two ways, we can perform a researching in our tool. So based on our question and the URLs mentioned on it, our research tool will give a reply to that questions. How our research tool is going to performing all these research based on the questions and URLs asked by the user. So on entering into the home page, we have to first enter the questions and the URLs. This URLs providing is an optional task. So whenever I had clicked the search button after entering the question or a URLs provided, then our research tool will check whether you had provided the URLs or not. If you had provided the URLs, it will check for the content related to that question from the URLs, and based on the content extracted from that URLs, we will get that using transformers in NLP pipeline question answer bot, we will get a single line answer or a specific answer from that extracted content. Later on, we will also extract the data that is related to the answer and question as well as paraphrasing that original content, and we will also provide that resources that we extracted from here and display and save in this users.csv file history column. And later on, what it will have if we hadn't provided any kind of links. So first of all, if we hadn't provided any kind of URLs, it performs a web search and it refer a top 5 search results of our based on our question and extract the text from all those links, and we will get a using transformers in NLP, we will get a single line answer or an accurate answer for it, and we will also get an original content as well as paraphrased content as well as sources or links from a. As you can see here, after URLs, this is the case of URLs provided, this is the case of URLs not provided. That content is saved in the users.csv and the history is limited up to recent 3 only, as here in the CSV format it had been stored. And again it comes to the home page itself and extract text from. This is the case of without mentioning any kind of results. Based on the top 5 links has been browsed based on the question. From that we will extract the text and based on the extracted text we will answer for the question using QA pipeline, and as well as we will paraphrase the content that we had extracted from that search results, and we will store this paraphrased content answer as well as original content including the URLs extracted by the browser into a users.csv file. And in here also the research tool history is limited up to the recent 3 only. Explain the code. So let's see what are the functions that we had used in our Python source code in the next slide. Here in our Python source code I had used 8 functions so that each will perform each task related to it. As I had earlier mentioned that our research tool will perform a basic 2 tasks. These two are only our main motto of our research tool. One of them is questioning our research tool by providing links, and second task is questioning our research tool without providing any kind of links. So with providing links, the extracted data or answering for that question will be done within that URLs only, without mentioning any kind of URLs, and directly questioning is a case 2. In this, what will happen is the top 7 searches or 6 searches will be considered, and from that, based on a question, the data will be extracted from all of the 6 URLs, and the original content will be formed as well as paraphrased content will be formed, and the 6 URLs are also considered here. So these are the 2 main mottos of a research tool, right? So let's see how each of the function will be help us to perform these 2 actions to our research tool. So first one is load underscore users. As I had earlierly mentioned that we are using users.csv file, right? This users.csv file will store the content of users like their username, password, and their recent current 3 histories in a users.csv. So to load this users.csv content into a Python code, we are going to use this load underscore users. If the users underscore csv doesn't exist in our file, we are going to create it in this function itself. Next, save underscore users. This will be updated like when we had recently registered or a new user had been added to our research tool or a history had been updated. So in this way, this save underscore users will work. Search underscore verb is a one of the important function that is used. This performs one of the main motto of our research tool, that is without mentioning any kind of URLs, direct questioning. This will perform the web search, and on performing web search, it will create a top search tools and it will save it, and for each of the URLs that it had been selected, it will send that URL to this extract underscore text underscore from underscore URL. In this extract text from URL, what will happen means, using beautiful soup, we will extract the specific data from that URLs, all the URLs that was sent by the search underscore web. So later on it's a paraphrase text. So after this extracting text, it will return to the search web. Then the returned text will be combined as a string, and it will again send to the paraphrase text function to paraphrase that original content. Based on that original content only, using the QA pipeline model, QA pipeline, the answer will be also be taken. Later on, by sending it to the paraphrase text, we'll get the paraphrase and we will return to the search underscore web. Similarly, answer questions from URLs function to work like that only, but this is for case 1, like how our research tool will work if we are providing a URLs. So here URLs will be provided, question will be given to this function with the lines is equal to 5. This parameter refers that it's a file answer enough to display or a scrapping from that URLs. Next, save underscore history. To save that history, how we have to say that, recently we had asked that who is Dhoni, right? And we had display that, and our research tool had display answer that he is an Indian international cricket player, and in the original content, our research tool will display all the related content to MS Dhoni, and in the paraphrased content, it will display by rearranging the vocabulary of original content. In the sources, it will display the links that it had taken. So all this content will be stored in this users.csv file. So for that storing, to store that, we are using this save underscore history function. Next, limit underscore history. So to limit that history up to the recent 3 entries only, we are using this limit underscore history function. This is a Visual Studio platform where I had run all my Python source code. On going into it, first let's see how I had saved all the files that are needed for our research tool. So in this Visual Studio, I had created a workspace. Until now, I hadn't titled it. So in that, I had created a subfolder named as my underscore flask underscore app. In that, I had created another subfolder named as templates. This consists of all the HTML pages, and this app.py is our main Python source code. As I had earlier mentioned, we are using the .csv file. This acts as a small database, right? I'm not mentioning it as a SQL preferred or Oracle databases or MongoDB. I'm just mentioning it as a backend, a small type of database. Okay. Now, I'd already mentioned that if this users.csv file is removed, that our Python code will automatically create that users.csv, right? So I had deleted this users.csv file once. So let's check it in a later on. So this is our app.py source code. This consists of all functions that I had mentioned earlier, right? So now let's run this code. This is approximately of 250 lines of code. Our terminal is running. Open this. Here it had opened our login page. So I'll explain you with the source code itself, both the input and output. So as you see here, first of all, let's open this. Okay, let's open this login page. So this is our login function, right? This is a Flask related code. This mentions that login page is our first HTML page to be opened to our application. And here this line represents this login page will get the data as well as post the data to this Python code. As I had already mentioned, Flask is used for communication between this HTML and as well as the Python code, right? So here what we are requesting, so here from the HTML page we are requesting to get a username that we had entered here and the password that we had entered here, and after getting it we are storing it into this username and password variables. So let's first enter it. So whenever I had entered this Stravia as well as 1234, I pressed login. Then here it is requesting, that form is requesting here. So then this Stravia is in this username, 1234 is in this password, as well as users is equal to load underscore users. What this will do is, as I had already said, there is a users.csv file in our environment, right? At present we had removed it from our path. So that what it will do, first of all, load underscore users. Where is that function? Here it is, right? First it will check whether this file is existed or not exist. Up to now we have deleted, so that this user underscore file has not existed in our environment. So then what it will do, it will return the data frame. It will create the user file in that environment, as well as it will give us return as a data frame with username, password and history, because up to now it is empty. If it doesn't exist, if it exists, it returns that file totally, including this username content, password content and history content. But if it doesn't exist, it will return the empty username, password and history. So up to now there is no content related or no users.csv file present in our environment. So that means there is no user present with a username as ABC or password with 1234. So that it is saying that username does not exist. How it's saying? We had loaded that. Now users doesn't contain any kind of data in it, because here users.csv, it doesn't present in our environment, it is empty. So that here users is also empty. The username at present we had entered ABC is not in this, because this is empty, this is not in that. So that what it will do, this is for register, right? It is checking where it is. This username not in users of username, that we had extracted that content from users.csv, right? So in that we are checking that username column in that, so that whether now we had entered username is matching with that existed usernames or not. If they are not matched, we have to display the message that is username does not exist. So here it is going on. And what if it existed? So that for that first we have to register, right? I had clicked a register button, so that we will come here. So what will happen, similarly as similar in login page, first here I am giving my name Stravia and I am registering into it 1234 password. So what will happen here, similarly this whatever the username and password that I had entered are came into this username password variables and stored at there. Now whenever I click the register, what will happen here, similarly as it happens in a login page, here too users have been loaded into this users variable. The content present in this users.csv is loaded into this users variable. Now what will happen in that users variable, whether this username that I had placed is existed or not, it will check. If it doesn't exist, it will continue. If that Stravia named person already present in our users.csv, it will display message as username already exists at here. Okay, now let's check register. So now it's registering, right? So now what will happen, after what it will happen, it will read that data frame, means that users.csv is been readed, and these newly created Stravia and with the password 1234 is appended to that columns of username password in users.csv. okay, now to save this abc comma 1234 in that users.csv, we had used this save underscore users of users. Up to now here users is a data frame which has a updated user values here. Now to update these values in the .csv file, we are calling this save underscore users file. So what this save underscore users file will do, whenever you had passed the dictionary to it with the updated values, then these updated values are will modify by using this function and appended to that file. So now this is how it is updated, that users.csv file. So successfully registered as Stravia, right? Now we are going to login. That means we are going to login page now. So at past username does not exist. Let's see if at present whether users.csv file formed or not. See here, automatically users.csv had file in our environment. We had observed this Stravia comma 1,1234. This is done in register page. As you had already seen, this is done in registered page by load underscore users function. So this is login page, right? So now we have entered into this. Now there is a single user for our research tool. So let's sign in with it. So I am giving my username, that is Stravia, and 1234. So again login function had called, right? After registering again, that login function from starting onwards, it will check all these things. So what will happen, from starting again these variables come, it will check whether that is existed. Again that users.csv content is loaded, it will check whether that username, Stravia name and username existed in this users.csv file or not. At present Stravia is present, right? So it will doesn't display this message, it has username does not exist. Now it will go to the next line and it will check whether the password that we had entered for this username is matched with it, with here password. So these two usernames are okay, it has completed to check this username is presented here. Now what we are going to check is this password is same as whatever the password we had mentioned in this HTML page. For that this code is here, .iloc of 0, here it is taking and checking. If it is not equal, then we have to display a message that is incorrect password. For example, let's see, actually our password is 1234, right? Here I am displaying 43, here I am giving 4321 password. So let's see what's it giving. That's an incorrect password. So this is activating. So now I'm going to change this as 1234 correct password. So now what will happen if I had given it in a login page? We will in this session of username. This is a session of username. What will happen? Creating a session of username is equal to username. If history not in session, that history, there is no history for this session means, then what it will do, it will create a list to empty list to it. That means up to now this Ravia named person hadn't asked any kind of questions to a research tool. Then what it will do, it will create an instance by creating an empty list to it. This will be done by a this line of code. Okay, so next it will load this history into session. How this history is obtained? Wait, I will show you what is this history and what it will happen. Later on you will observe. First of all, in login page, if he is an already existed user, no issues. That means he will have some question and answer or his history, whatever recent history he had will be stored here. Else what it will happen, it will create an empty instance. This was said by within these codes. Okay, next login page has been completed, registered to completed. Now what will happen? So through login page we are going to enter into the home page, right? Now I had given a correct username and password, so we had entered into a main home page. I will show you completely. So this is how this will has a one of the left and then here there will be two text boxes, and here our history will be displayed, and this history is limited up to only recent 3. So here Stravia refers to the username of that which we had logged in. Next, so now what will happen? So this is the main task that is going to happen here. Now in these two, the Flask application is required because the question that we had entered here is going to save here, right? And the URLs that we had entered here will be saved here. Here there is a 2 cases you have to observe here. So I will show you both the cases. One is who is Pavan Kalyan. I'm asking who is Pavan Kalyan without mentioning any kind of links. So here you can provide a single link or multiple links. If we are giving a multiple links, you have to separate them by using a comma. So here I had given a question without giving any kind of URLs. Now what this will do? So as you had seen here, it is giving us an answer that he is an Indian politician and actor, and our research tool had also given a multiple lines of content related to this question and answer, and this paraphrased content is the rearranging the vocabulary of this original content. And this will, one of the important point to be noted is this will not paraphrase this Hindi content, Hindi language content. This will only paraphrase the content which is in the form of English only. So here what will happen is, whenever we had asked a question directly without providing any kind of URLs, so as you can see URL underscore input. So here if we will enter, right, multiple URLs or single URL, all them in the form of string, it will come into this URLs underscore input. Now what will happen? It will check, means not, it will not check, it will separate by comma. That means if we have provided a multiple URLs like for example geeks for geeks, right, I'd give it geeks for geeks of data structures, control V comma, and some other Sudhamurthy or Mata Sudhamurthy. So let's consider another link about tsunamis or natural disasters. So let's consider this link. And this, I'm pasting it. And another link about that natural disasters is Britannica, it seems. Let's see it. And separated by comma. As see here, I'm separating it by comma and pasting the second link. So this is the content types, natural disasters, disaster warning systems. So let's ask a question to our thing. So what are different types of natural disasters? So as you have seen here, for our question, they are given two links, right? One is from Britannica, another is this link. So we are getting answer from both of the links. So one is saying that for natural disaster, man-made disaster, and technological hazards. There are three types of natural disaster systems. And the content related to it extracted from this link, and the content related to is extracted from this link. So in this way, at the starting, we had given these two links separated with comma, right? So the two links are separated with comma here, and they are sent to a URLs of list of URLs. Here URLs variable consists of list of URLs. Here we are checking if we had provided the links in this text box or not. If we had provided the links in this text box, then we will have the links or URLs in this variable. If we hadn't had any kind of links, then we will go to else block. If we had mentioned the links in this text box, this if block will be executed. How this if block will be executed? How this if block will be executed? First of all, if URLs had been mentioned, that means here these two are examples for this case. So what will happen? Your URLs variable consists of these two links. That URLs of 0 as this link, URLs of 1 as this link. Now what it will do? These two URLs list will be sent to the answer underscore questions underscore from underscore URLs question along with the question that we had entered here. So where it is, let's search for it. Answer underscore, so this is the function. So we are getting the URLs list as well as question, and we are also taking a default argument that lines is equal to 5 represents that we only need a 5 lines of content to be scrapped or to be represented, to be shown in our web page. For that, it's enough to us to take only 5 lines of content. So that what we are doing, first of all, we are creating an empty list named as results. So here we have two links, right? So we are saying that for URL in URLs, for the first one, for this URL is equal to refers to here. URLs will have these two links. So for URL in URLs means for first iteration it will consider this link, and it will extract the, it will call the another function that is extract underscore text underscore from underscore URL with the same numbers mentioning that its 5 lines of content is enough to be scrapped. So these two are sent to here. So here, right? So what this will do, this will send a request to this link. So here up to now URL, this will have only this link. So what this here it is happening using request library, we are sending a request to this server of this link or a web server that we wanted to scrap the data from your website. So based on the response of that URL or a web server, this beautiful soup will extract the text content only. As I already mentioned, this will not consider other languages. This will only consider text data. It will also not consider dynamic data like videos, tabular data, graphical data, images, YouTube videos. It cannot analyze. This will only analyze the text data, that too in English language from that websites. So now what is going on? This beautiful soup is going to extract the, so these have been separated into a extracted using beautiful soup, and the content that is extracted from this will be stored in this soup variable. So now what will happen? We are going to extract the para content only. As you already know that in HTML we will represent the para content within the p tag, right? So here we are going to extract the entire content in that web, in that URL which has under p para tag. So now like that there will be many paras in that website, right? so that we are using here for loop, and we are getting all the text in that paragraph, and we are going to store it in a paragraphs variable. So now what we are doing, we are combining this paragraphs list into a string. Now what will happen, all the paras are combined into a string separated with the space, and now again we are separating it with a dot. Here why we are separating means we only needed a 5 lines of content, right? 5 lines of content, as we are mentioned here, it's a 5 lines of content is enough to display here. So for that we are again splitting it. For that we are splitting it and saying 5 lines is enough for us using this. Now what we are doing, again we are converting into a string by placing before and after with the puni stops and sending that string. For else, if else, what if else that URL request has been failed or URL is not received to this function, then the exception will be raised here and an empty string will be returned from here. So now who call this here, right? Now what this will contain, now what it will contain, where in the loop, right? Where it is URL, so it is in the URL. For the first URL the content will be saved here, so that here bing.com is first URL, right? First what will happen, this will go to that function and the text will be returned, this entire text will be returned here for the first iteration of URL. Now again it will check if that text has this content or it is an empty string, because as we had said there, if an exception is raised, an empty string is forwarded here, returned here, so that we are checking it. If it is an empty string, we have to send an error, we have to display an error, what for error answering question ani, we have to display that. So now what we are going to do, for that extracted content, from this extracted content we have to display this answer, and as well as we have to create this paraphrased content. So that what we are going to do here, we are calling a pipeline function, a pipeline object. This is a pipeline object where we had created this object here itself. So you can see here we had created an object for this pipeline function of QA model. Here for this QA model we had used a deep set robota basic squared 2 submodel. This is an advanced model for question answering. So now with that object we are passing the question as well as the extracted original content of that link as a parameter. So now what this will return, this will return this natural, man-made and technology hazards, and this text is stored in this result variable. So it is checking whether that QA pipeline had returned anything like this text, then answer must be this one, else what it must display here, no answer found. So in this way we are getting it. And next what we are doing, we are to bring this, to construct this paraphrased content, we are splitting this original content by seeing the pun stops, right? So here you can observe a dots, right? Based on this is a, you are separating it into a list. So this is content underscore lines of 0, content underscore content underscore lines of 1. So in this way a list is formed from the original content, and in this list too we are taking only the 7 lines of content, right? Or only this taking 7 lines of content from it, means up to where we are considering here to here, like that punished up here we are considering only 7 lines, and again we are converting it into the string and passing as a parameter to the, and passing a parameter, passing that 7 lines original content as a parameter to the paraphrase underscore text function, where it is, so here it is. Now we are getting this original content as a parameter to this paraphrase underscore text. Now what this will do, as I had already mentioned, this NLTK library will separate the entered text into the tokens, small tokens, and to get the resultant rearranged vocabulary text into this, into the result. So we had created this empty list, and again we are saying that it's a 5 lines of paraphrased content is enough for that. So we had created it. Here we had used a tokenizer, as I had already said. Here we are using this, see, this is an object for this auto tokenizer. Auto tokenizer is similarly work as an LLTK. These two will separate the text into a tokens. So for that I had used this Pegasus paraphrase model and the sequence to sequence. So I'm using this object, this paraphrase underscore text, and I'm passing that line to line. Here I had separated into tokens that I'm sending that batch to batch, and I'm generating that. Here I'm going to generate that rearranged vocabulary, and I'm storing it in the para outputs, and I'm adding it to the paraphrased underscore sentences. So now what I'm going to do now here, what this paraphrased underscore sentences will have: a natural disaster can have very harmful up to here. It will have as paraphrase underscore sentences of 0. Now this is paraphrased underscore sentences of 1. Up to now this will have like this. So now what we are going to do, converting this list into combining this list into a string. So that we had used this dot join function. Based on this we are going to combine it, and if else there is any exception raised in this under this content of this try block, then this exception will be raised that an error occurred during paraphrasing. Then what will happen, the text which is passed to this paraphrase underscore text will directly send back to this, and here there will be no rearrangement, and that 7 lines of content only directly display here. So now I'm going into this calling function. Similarly here in a second URL to here, right, where here we are getting after paraphrasing that string, paraphrased string, entire string will be stored here, right? Now what will happen, here we had created a results list, empty list, right? Now into this results list, what are we doing, URL, this URL will be in the URL section, this URL will be appended in the question section. So here I'm appending this, here I'm appending this URL into this here results section, and that question into this question, and this answer here will be appended here, and this original content here appended to this content underscore exert. Okay, in this way again the loop will be iterated for the next URL here, and similarly these two will be appended to this results function and work similarly. So in this way our research tool will work when he had given a URLs to our research tool, either single or multiple URLs. Now on going into the else block, that means this is the case 1. Here we hadn't provided any kind of URLs. So what it's going to do, first search underscore web, it had asked question and it had checked URLs. There is no URL in this variable. So what it will do, search underscore web function is called where it is. So here, so this here query refers to the who is Pawan Kalyan. So under this what will happen, so now what's going here, our question, that is who is Pawan Kalyan, is added, appended to in this link, and this link is going to be searched in a browser. After searching the browser, it will return us the top searches of that question in that browser. And now what we are doing, we are sending a request to all of these URL web servers, so that we are waiting for the response from all of these servers, web servers. Now using this beautiful soup, you are going to extract content from it. Now we are adding title, the title section, here Pawan Kalyan is a title, and for that means from this Wikipedia of Pawan Kalyan we are getting the content of up to here. Wait, I will show you. Here when we hadn't mentioned any kind of URL, our research tool will browse all these links and it will extract the content related to our question like this. So this is from Wikipedia of Pawan Kalyan. As you can see here, this is the heading title, this is the title, it will be here, and this Konidala Pavan Kalyan June 24, all these things will be in description, and the link of it, Wikipedia of Pavan Kalyan, will be here. So now all these will be appended like this. So now what we are going to do, where we will extract. So when after going to a web server, our beautiful soup library will search for the HTML tag with a div and having a class as tf2cxc. This is common for all similar kind of webs. So after in that division tag, it will search for h3, means for titles, and anchor tags for links. It will search, and it will search for the paragraphs, and it will return as a description of that content. Here this is the description. You are checking that c double equal to 7 because you are saying that 5 lines is enough, up to 5 URLs is enough to us. So here in this soup.find underscore all, this will consider all the URLs more than 7. For that we are limiting it to 7. Okay, c double is equal to 7. Even the up to here it had passed it, we will break it. Only the 6 URLs will be considered, and the 6 URLs data to be considered. Now that content together in the form of string will be returned to this search underscore, where it is, will be returned to this home page else block. Now this result will consist of a dictionary which had a keys as title, link and description, and this title key will have a value corresponding to the list of titles, and this link key values will have a list of links. Description key values will have a list of descriptions. Now what's going to happen is all they are separated. Now title is a list of titles, link will have list of links, description. Now we are checking. So now what we are doing here is appending this links to the R and the description to this, and now paraphrased content, we are paraphrasing this each and every and sending into this paraphrase underscore text function as a parameter. And now at final we are directly saving this answer. These are the links. This is the D refers to the description, entire original content, P refers to the paraphrased content, and all are saved in the users.csv file. So in this HTML file, in the home.html file, as you can see here, a logo, anonymous logo, a logout function, and here are the service policy. Here this will be displayed here. And next, from here onwards, you can see this question, entry of question for entry in history. Here for each question this refers to. This is how HTML refers to. Entry of source will be in the format of string. So what we are doing, separating it, and we are displaying it a line by line. So in this way